This is episode 326 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Gio Morales, and today I'm joined by Will Shielded Fangs Hagewood.
They're pretty good. Try them out.
Ryan, to box or not to box? Staniszewski.
It is a question that many are still pondering to this day.
James, Grumpy Goose Ritter.
I got introduced at my job to like a new coworker as the grumpy one, so I guess that's just my my vibe that I give off. So
that sounds like an HR complaint, but anyway, we'll talk about that later, James. And then we have Wynand Nova Champion Court.
Hey all, it's pretty nice to meet James. I don't know, grumpy vibes.
It's also not like 6 a.m. in the morning, and I'm working, so.
Anyway, now that we know that James is a grumpy goose at work, today our podcast is brought to you by the GSP patrons. Thank you so much for your support. You're the reason why we were able to travel to Nova Open and bring you that live stream we did over 3 days. Thank you guys so much for your support. Head to patreon.com/goldsquadron if you want to be a part of those group of supporters. So we're starting right off the bat. We're talking about the Nova Open. That's why we have Wynand here. Wynand, let's start very simple. Where are you from and how'd you get into X-Wing?
I am from Santa Barbara, California. At least that's where I live right now, about 2 hours north of LA. And I got into X-Wing right when it started up. So that must have been 2012, 2011. I just love Star Wars, love the spaceships, and I was looking for something to do. I'm awful at painting miniatures, so the game really was like speaking to me. This is I got a little General Grievous that my buddy painted for me, but I can't do this.
Right.
You know? So that's the main reason. I was kind of in casual games, and then that was my first jump up to wargaming.
Love it. All right, and let's just jump right into the event. Congratulations, you were the champion. You did really well in some of our GSP series. You've always been kind of around the top. You won Sector 2 when we were doing the Sector series. Brought it home now with this champion. Let's go ahead and start with your list. What'd you play?
So it's a very simple list. Han Solo with Perceptive, Copilot, and Biston. Millennium Falcon title for free, and my flex was Trick Shot instead of the Chopper engine upgrade that you see more commonly. The Boy Luke, which is very efficient, undercosted in my opinion. Sabine Wren with Beskar Reinforced Plating, Kia Venzi with Juke, and Wedge with Marksmanship and Predator, leaving an upgrade point on the table there with him. I wanted to make a very, very simple list that had no triggers for me to miss, essentially. The only one that came close to missing was the Beskar plating. After if you're playing 7 rounds of Swiss and then maybe a cut, I'm going to be forgetting triggers all over the place with anything else that I had available to me.
You and everybody else. I mean, that's just the reality. One of the things I was saying at Nova is like, most people when it comes to our recordings will watch the final the most. The thing is that really the final is not necessarily a representation of everybody's best state of mind or best X-Wing at that point.
Yeah, I ran my Han into my Sabine. I was like, I could have avoided that. I'm just so tired.
Yeah. Awesome. So what went into the decision of bringing this list? We know that Han has been around, in this meta. Some things are starting to shift around. Why the final decision to stick with Han?
I was trying to get an invite with a Republic list that utilized the Siege of Coruscant Torrents, as well as Click Anakin and some Z95s that my training partner Brandon Kading had been doing well with. I just couldn't get there, and my buddies Ryan and D, as you know, got their invites with Han, and they were just saying, "Just use Han. You're gonna get one." And so I switched over, and I've been playing Rebel since the beginning. Obviously, I have no shortage of Falcon experience. 2019 season, last time we were playing in person, I flew Lando, Nora, Thane, and won a hyperspace and got my ticket that way. So I have lots of Falcon experience, so it was easy to just slide right back into that.
That's awesome. All right. So when it came to your games, I know it's hard to think about because you played a lot of them. Was there so what ended up being your overall record? Did you go undefeated all the way through?
I was undefeated. I intentionally drew against Ryan Staniszewski.
I know that guy.
Hey, yeah, he's right there. And so, yeah, I went undefeated technically. And there were some challenges in there, a couple close matches, but it's just such a favorable list to fly. There were some blowouts, and it's just math at that point. Double shot, double tap, I6 is you're gonna suppress people with just the overwhelming statistics of that.
Look at all my guns.
Yeah.
So what would you say, was there a certain matchup or a player that you played over the weekend that you're like, you know what, that was unexpected, and it was cool to see?
Yeah. So the Padme Flex that Tippett popularized at Gen Con and a little before that with some other players was really strong against. Yeah, I see it down there.
James like, I was the first one.
Officially, other players.
Officially other players, I'll take it.
I'm referring to these guys here like they're not even third person. You know, Ryan said that guy Ryan, that guy James.
No, we've been teasing for a while now about it.
The Plasma Torp Padme was surprisingly good into Han. So I had one do 7 damage to Han on 2 Plasma Torps, which was devastating. The one that came out of nowhere to kind of catch me off guard was FO with a focus on jams. Let me see if I can find that match. But just having one focus token on Han makes you make some interesting decisions, especially when you're being followed up with a Malorous shot that's going to guarantee crit, get another gem in there, maybe drop a box if you were carrying it. So the FO tech against Han was also surprising. Other than that, I'm lucky. I feel lucky I dodged the Separatist swarm that was out there with the side-slipping ships.
Those HMPs.
There's HMPs. Just a lot of health. I think if you're going to try to build against Han, and that's why the Siege of Coruscant arcs are so good against this list, is they can actually take the dice that Han's spitting out and stay alive long enough to fire back. Those are my challenges. Yeah, Grand Army of the Republic, Padme, big health, anything, and then First Order. I think First Order is actually in a very good spot right now. More people should be playing them, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're just not the spiciest thing right now. Not the most popular, so you don't see them on the table.
Right.
So, my last question, and gentlemen, feel free to kind of load your questions. Is so you said that usually my next question is, if you hadn't brought this list, what would you have brought? So maybe you want to tell us a little bit about that Republic list you were cooking.
Sure.
You don't have to give away all the tech.
No,
we're just curious.
It's no secrets in there. It's the Delta 7B Anakin R4P17 Shield Upgrade Predator that really puts the weight on you to outfly your opponent at a higher skill level. You see people like, Duncan or my training pro Brandon playing stuff like that, and they always make the right decision, right? So you need to be able to do that with Anakin. But then the supporting ships were more of my style. So the 2 Z95s I took were Slider and Boost, the cheap ones, Objective Control. And you kind of saw an echo of that in my list for Nova, where I opted for Wedge Keo and Sabine instead of something like Fen Rao or Chopper, because Objective Control is, I think, more important than just shooting people to death with Fen Rao or Chopper. And then the Siege of Coruscant ships are all extremely good. Even the Torrents, which you don't see as much. But Axe, we've got Kickback and Axe. And Kickback is a I-5 with Diamond Boron missiles, ammunitions failsafe, as well as the Boron for this. And Roll Lock. On top of that, he's passing his tokens over to Anakin if Anakin gets in trouble. And then I also on that list, so it's 2 Torrents, 2 Z95s, a click in the what's that thing called? Nimbus class viewing, So you can deny people their range 1 bonus on probably your boost and your Anakin, and its bodies. So that's 6 ships, and one of them's Anakin. So it's a lot to deal with, a lot to think about. But on the other side of it, you have a lot of opportunities to make mistakes. It's very dependent on spacing. You can't let Anakin get out of range of certain other characters, or you're going to find him burning up pretty fast.
Yeah, there's a lot of triggers to miss too.
Exactly, a lot of triggers to miss. Yeah, the store champs I went to, it's doing great first 2 rounds. And then we break for lunch, and 3rd round comes, and I'm feeling a little slower.
You get to the end of the game, and you realize you didn't even put your quick charge out. It's like,
yeah.
yeah.
I could have locked 2 people with the R3 on click. Whoops. Yeah, there's a lot to miss there.
Ryan, Will, James?
I guess you said there's not a lot of triggers in that particular list that you ended up running, the Han, Luke, Wedge, Keo, Sabine, but I feel like there are still like a good like a medium amount of triggers, like especially with like the Keo Juke, you said the Sabine Beskar, and even some of like a Han Solo trick shot, where it's not really a trigger, it's a must, but like keeping it in mind when you're playing around the field. Do you feel like it's still on the lighter side of things nowadays as far as triggers go?
I would say, yeah. The ship counts are generally up. Even Ace lists are seeing 4 ships now. So even if you build something that is supposedly simple, there's still just a lot of ships. And with no generics, every ship has an ability that you have an opportunity to forget. I kind of miss those generic lists, honestly. I got bested by a 5 Kirax Predator list in one tournament, and I was like, that's a smart move, because it's 1 trigger. Do I have Predator? You know? Yeah, it is. The game's a little heavier than it used to be, or it can be heavier.
Yeah, even a lot of pilots that are good nowadays, like Tomax as an example, we always say that like pilots like him hit their ability is that they're initiative 5. So even ships like that still do bring an ability that you have to keep in mind during, even if it's not on the table, it's during list building.
Right.
You're talking about objectives. So I'm thinking about Assault, you're probably fine in.
I was very excited to see Assault at the final table. I was like,
right. Right. But the 2 that have actions, I assume that Luke and Han just can't do those things. So does it end up being one of the 3? Do you have like a dedicated objective person?
So for boxes, obviously Sabine's going to end up with a box, which turns off her power, unfortunately. But that's just what she's there for. She's 2 points. And if you can have a box for 2 rounds, you've made your money. Keo is extremely good at picking up boxes, because the side slip can get you into strange places, unhittable places sometimes. And it's not considered a reposition. So you have the box, and you become very difficult to catch.
Yeah, and evade force.
And evade force. A 5 forward, sometimes people won't expect that. You just fly through everything and away. I will say on boxes, I did have Han pick up a box twice. So it's one thing I've been seeing on a lot of people play Han is they throw him in the center, and they rely on the overwhelming math that he brings to the table to win, essentially. When you could be holding him back a little bit and using him as a threat, drawing arcs over rocks to come get him instead of putting him in front of the enemy list. You want to start shooting, but you don't want to like lay him out there alone, because he'll go down. He's not invincible, you know. So getting a box with Han, and my Han doesn't have the chopper or engine upgrade, so I'm not worried about boosting anyway. Round 2 grab, and then hopefully get into shooting round 3, and you're just scoring points on top.
Why not both?
And then satellite array is really difficult. I will admit to that. I nearly lost my satellite array games. They were very close.
Are you talking? You talking scramble?
Scramble.
Press-
Sorry,
yeah.
my bad. Yeah. Scramble.
Press the button
push the
once.
button. Yeah,
Yeah.
push the button.
Is there any particular reason for that, or just
You're
not a great matchup for your
It's
list?
just not a great matchup. You still have the bodies, which is nice, but the Initiative 3 objective runners in Keo and Sabine often get outplayed by I5, I6 people who aren't dependent on their actions. Thinking of Jedi, people like Malorus, Kylo Ren, they don't really mind not taking their token, target lock, etc. And they can push that button after you, and they don't really mind at all. Malorus is very good at that push the button mode, I will say. If anyone's looking at FO, he'll push that button and then turn on the auto win mode and just be fine.
Malorus just may be like one of the best objective ships in the game.
Yeah.
So,
Very good.
well, at least one of the best 3-pointers, you know.
And so is actually Padme, because you get the evade and you still press the button and your power's still alive. You're just sitting there denying.
Padme says no. Not
She
allowed.
says no.
Awesome. Well, Wynand, you you won the Nova Open Championship. Did you have a Worlds invite going into this event?
I did not. I had failed at all the store championships I went to previously.
Way to get one in style.
I know,
Like
right?
not just like make top 4, but win like a major championship. That's a pretty good way to get it.
It's a pretty good. And now I don't have to like lay out the money for the trip. I was like planning my budget and stuff. Like, all right, it's probably going to be like $1,000 to get out there and stay out there. Now I don't. That's just money in the bank now. I'm really excited about that.
You can just have fun and chill on the rest of your store champ season.
Exactly. I'm going to Golden State later this month, and
Will and I will see you there.
I'll see you there. It's going to be fun. I'll fly something weirder than this.
Yeah, I mean, now you can. Now you can.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Wynand. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. You want to give any shout-outs before we let you go for the evening?
Doing a shout out again, Brandon Kading for training with me. He's like the last person. Like I am in store at Dead Zone. There's nothing out here to play in real life. So TTS is all I got really for practice, and he's always down to run a couple games every week. So thanks, Brandon, for that. And I want to thank you guys for keeping X-Wing alive. I probably would have quit over COVID, honestly, if there weren't organized, structured, like long mode events to play. So thank you guys. Like and subscribe. I sub, so all the stuff. I encourage others to do the same.
Thank you so much, Wynand. Well, have a great night, and but yeah, Will and James will see you at Golden State Games.
All right, I'll see you guys out there.
All right, so that was just Wynand Cowart, our Nova Open champion. It was great to have him, and the way to exit Wynand is just he figured it out. He just got to click the button. He clicked the button. Beautiful. Boop. Now, we also have a top cut recipient on the cast. We got to go woo, woo, woo for our boy Stanny. Let's go. I didn't want to get too hyped. You know, I mean, I was hyped for Wynand because he's like one of our community guys, but like you're one of our guys. So I got to hype you up.
Also, it was really helpful to have gotten this taken care of after what we'll segue into later, which is
Ryan has secured a World's invite.
Secured a World's invite from a World Open qualifier and not a store champ. Store champ I originally got an invite from was twofold suspect. One, it was only 10 players. Two, it was scheduled before the new points were supposed to be used, but we wanted to use them anyway. So, glad I got
all that and more coming up on your news at 9:30.
Straight to jail.
All right. Anyway, all things. Ryan, you brought a pretty cool list, man. You brought something that people have been like whispering about, but nobody has had the cojones and the skill, the gumption to make it happen. So I wanted to give you some time in and talk about the list you brought.
Yeah,
Five
so-
T-70s asterisk.
Yeah, 5T70 quote unquote. That's what I've been called. That's what it's pretty much what it's been called. It's a 5T70.
Right.
Yeah.
Where in reality, there's been so many variations of this, right? From legitimately 5T70 all the way to 2 to 3T70 plus the stuff, right? It's everything in the list is for cost. Now I have seen variations where people have taken one of those ships, brought them up to a 5 like me, and dropping the other one down to a 3 like Jarek. I wasn't a big fan of that variation myself, just because Nien becomes the target. He's the most expensive, and Jarek doesn't have a range 1 forward eye shot. Not a fan. What I brought, I think your base 3 T70s is kind of what most people see. Elo, Snap, and Jessica Pava. After that, it was trying to decide, all right, what is something from there that I feel comfortable with, could build upon, etc., etc. Kaz was a big one. Kaz has always been something that I felt like has been a strong piece. Is a great partner, I think, for Jess in most games. Not too difficult to fly with her. And when he gets shot up enough, he can slam out and just get out of there, right? So when you're in that situation of... the baseline problem with Jess is there's a little bit of a tax to put something next to her, right? But you can't just put anything next to her, or you probably should think more about what you put next to her, because at that point you want to not make it obvious who to shoot, right? So if you put Vanessa, right, a very viable T70 I consider for the list, next to Jess, they're just going to shoot Vanessa if they're looking at both, right? Sure, you have the chance to maybe Nick kill Jess, but she's got rerolls. She's got she'll spend the focus on defense because maybe the reroll's enough for her offense. And Vanessa doesn't have any consequences for you shooting her. Whereas with Kaz, you could kit out Kaz with like a shield upgrade in R2D2 to make him more difficult to bring down. You can give him Notorious, like what I ended up doing. So Kaz felt like the better complement to Jess. I think other people have looked at Finn Pod in the past, and that's a very reasonable one to do, even at 4 points right now. I just think Finn Pod
Rose
now
historically has been a good Jess partner as well, right?
Oh yeah, could totally do that too.
Yeah, because you also don't want to shoot Rose because she gets her rerolls.
Yes,
And she's a pod.
But she's 3 points, and there was no 5 point ship I really liked.
Right.
Like I said, 9 is there. He's a good ship, but I think he needs something else to draw aggro from himself. Right? He can't be the main thing that gets shot at. So, Finn Pod, although for me, when I considered him, he's a little bit of a liability when it comes to objectives. He's not fast. He can't really do his action to do scenario actions without, I don't have any focuses, now I die. Right? Yeah. He has to focus. He's like a barrage bomber in terms of objectives. You have to focus or you're not doing damage, but if you need to do an objective action, you are going to die or not do damage. In Finn's case, you will die. You will die and not do damage both. Whereas the bomber might not die instantly, since it's got 2 more health than a Finn pod. So then, after finding Kaz, the question was, all right, what do I want as the 5th option? Vanessa was on the list. I wanted to try her out, see how she felt, and at that point, I was like, okay, I liked having the back arc. I liked having something that that gave me some more time on target, that pressured people more consistently. But I'm like, okay, she felt all right. But I think if people realize you target Vanessa, just like any other barrage rocket ship, they have to hold on to that focus. Otherwise, they don't get to shoot the thing, right? So when you're in that situation, it's like, well, I want to make sure I always get to shoot the shot that I need. I don't want to have to just need a focus to do that. So without the focus, she doesn't have a back arc, basically. So I was like, okay, it's been a while since I've touched an RZ2, and Lulo has decent numbers right now, and he's an I5 with boost and speed and a back arc. I'm like, let's throw Lulo in there. What do we get? Well,
It's so flexible.
it harkens back to because I used to play a ton of RC2 stuff. It's just it'd been a while since I felt comfortable with Lulo in a meta. And even now, you have to be careful. I don't think Lulo is the first 4-point chip you go after in any resistance list. Even though he is I5 just like Elo. I think it is a situation of he's amongst a lot of ships that are similar cost, same cost exactly, and they draw a lot of other aggro and can take a lot of time to kill. And Lulo gets to play at least a little bit of a flanker to say if you turn at Lulo, you are letting all these other ships do whatever they want. So you just have to not put Lulo in situations where Lulo's the tip of the spear. Just don't do that. Lulo will die then. But another part of the reason why I picked a Lulo is because I was also testing out the tech that you may be seeing in this list that a lot of people hadn't really tried. I might have alluded to a couple weeks ago when we got on that topic of discussion of, hey, what are things people should think about? And I threw Ferrosphere into the mix.
The paint.
The paint.
And
shiny and
we
chrome.
laughed at you. We laughed at you.
Like, oh, no one cares about Ferrosphere. I'll just take the lock. Oh, will you? Well,
Will you?
Mr. Darth Vader or Merrick Steele or Luke Skywalker, who would like to not be stuck doing blue maneuvers next turn, or Von Reg, who would like to use his ship ability at all without getting into stress. There's a plethora of lists, or Commander Malice, who would not like to leave the battle triple stressed.
Mm-hmm.
So there's situations in games where it at least makes my opponent think about it, right? They have to consider and think about whether or not they want to take the lock. And a lot of times, and sometimes during Nova, they did. They took the focus and used instinctive aim, and that's a win for me. I'll take that every day. And when it's something like, oh, I'm Merrick Steele, and I'm gonna afterburners and target lock you, and if you're not in bullseye, I have a pretty good idea where you can and can't go next turn. Same with Vader. Vader becomes a lot easier to block when he's stressed, even if I have to deal with him mitigating most of it by doing his full complement of actions and saving the lock for last. But it does stop. I think Willis talked to one of his favorite full combo Vaders is the afterburners block, focus link, or bear rolling focus or focus link roll, taking the
Focus
stress
link
and
to red
save some
roll.
force. Yeah, the red roll. And then you're at a point where Vader's. The point is, stressing these ships allows you to better figure out where they can go and where you can find them. Because even though Luke got to take his proton torpedo at Jess Pava and do, I don't know, 2 to 3 damage, I'm going to find Luke next turn and I'm going to kill him because he's stressed. And unless you opted in for the 4 straight and then attack speeds, this is not an action, and regen and come back later, which is a pretty rare thing anyone ever did. I'm going to trade Luke. I'm going to kill Luke, and then you're going to kill something else probably. And I'll deal with that. That's fine.
So, I mean, in the past, what I've gained in the games that I've played against Ferrosphere Paint users, I've just locked the other ship. So what stops someone locking the other ship here in this list?
Oh, nothing. Go ahead.
They all have it.
Lock,
Yeah,
by the way,
they all
they all have it.
Yeah, they all have it.
No, wait,
Spoiler.
one doesn't.
And the one that doesn't has false transponder
False transponder
codes.
codes,
So
correct, also the ship that has Notorious. So
also the ship
no,
that has
the
Notorious.
point is everything is fair. Like if only some stuff is Ferrosphere. Now, granted, if everything but one thing is Ferrosphere, and like it's like let's say if it was just Pava, who I opted for R2D2 instead, that allows me to know where they're funneling their targets probably, or where the lock is likely going to go. but I never felt that R2D2 Astromech was that much of a difference over BB Astromech. By the way, even though people will look at BB Astromech and be like, that's charges for chess, it is super way more than that. I had
It is
used
way
that
more.
barrel almost every single game, and it super mattered every time. It allowed me to barrel in a spot where it allowed me to 4K, or talon roll in the correct spot I needed, or barrel roll one bank to just back myself up a sec and just do a slight one bank to lead a shot, like into a Han as an example. That BB Astromech is still extremely helpful on Jess to get her where she needs to be, along with just being charges
Did you
for her
wanna-
too if she gets focused on early.
Did you want to go ahead and quickly break down the list for our
Yeah, I guess let's go.
audio listeners that are just in the dark?
Sure. I guess I was starting from the beginning and working my way towards the finale of what it all was, but sure. So yes, everything is Ferrosphere except Kaz. Kaz, we'll start with Kaz since he has the most different loadout of all. Kaz has the Fireball title, Targeted Computer, False Transponder, Ghost Notorious. And I dump a point because I didn't care about taking a 2-point thing. I wanted a target lock in case Kaz actually wanted to lock something since he had False Transponder codes. So Just Pava, as I talked about, has Ferrosphere and BB Astromech. We have Temin, who has R68, Ferrosphere, and Heroic. Only 2 points left. Triggered twice, maybe, but there's really nothing better for 2 points. Wish Predator was still 2, but that's a different story.
Which one is D8?
That is the Super Predator droid. If you have someone in Bullseye or you have friends,
All the bullseyes.
if you have friends at range 0 to 3 that have the ship you're shooting at in Bullseye, you can re-roll each dice for each ship that has ship in Bullseye. Lulo, shield upgrade, Ferrosphere. I had 1 point left. I considered Starboard Slash, but I read the second sentence of Starboard Slash, and it says if you are in the enemy ship's arc, you just moved over. Which, by the way, a lot of Arc 170s. No thanks. I don't want to be 1 agility Lulo for one shot. So I went marksmanship, and actually combos really well when I have Elo with Ferrosphere. And so the last 5 points in Elo was actually the last decision point I had in this entire list. And that was basically, okay, do I want M9G8 to lock like Lulo? Do I want like Predator marksmanship, or sorry, Predator heroic, crackshot marksmanship, or plasma torpedo? The plasma and the M9G8 were like the most question marks for me in terms of like those were the 2 higher tiered options I wanted to consider. And I tried M9G8 like for 1 game, and it was okay because I got to lock Lulo, got some extra time on target, got used to those rerolls. But I already missed, like, I repositioned with Elo a ton on the first turn, whether it's the barrel roll or the boost to get up the board with Lulo and whatnot. So I'm like, all right, let's try the plasma. Because while I have stuff to help me against the arcs, because by the way, every time Jag does his ability and he tries to lock something that isn't in Bullseye, that's still Ferrosphere every single time. It doesn't matter if you are already stressed, you will still become stressed. While that already helps against the arcs, generally the positioning that these ships can get in with movement that they have can help with the arcs. But the plasma torpedo, while it would help me burn down arcs faster, it is so much more helpful against just arcs. Hans, any TIE Advanced, any other T-70s. Luke, he's got 2 shields. Silencers, they got 2 shields. Plenty of stuff has shields. And when Elo's I-5, and commonly sort of the backline ship that gets to, okay, Snap's likely in front of me, Lulo's just off to the side of me, Jess and Kaz are drawn to Magro. I commonly am able to lock as long as I got to lock the target I want to and they didn't move after me. Lock a target at range 3, fire off a plasma, do some additional damage, and then Lulo follows, and then everyone follows up after that, right? Really good. But even beyond just the first engagement, because Elo has a white talon roll, and at I-5, I generally get to know where things have gone, what they're pointing at, or just know if they're can really consider turning to point at me. I lock a lot on that talon roll, and whether it's denying the range 3 or just let's start teeing up the next target. Here goes another plasma. That plasma torpedo is probably the best secondary weapon in the game right now, point for point. It's 5 points.
Yeah,
That's it.
I've looked at it so many times with Padme, and I think after this weekend and seeing the results that it's had, I think I'm a convert, because how many times I've rolled proton torpedo into 2 hits after the reroll is pretty terrible, and just being able to single mod 3 dice is a lot easier than single modding 4 dice.
Sure. I still think Proton can be really good, but I can see, like, I went up against someone who brought Plasma on their Padme. That was the only Republic game I had, but it was in the first round of Sundays, 2 Swiss games. He went with funny enough, went with R4P, Daredevil, and Plasma. So I just looked at him like, oh, it's the one time I see a Padme with R4P. We'll mitigate Ferrosphere a little bit better. Noted.
Yeah,
Still new
I love
generally
R4P. I love R4P on those Naboo's. Like,
yeah.
open up the 1 speed maneuvers and the 3 hard and the 4-5 straight is a huge difference.
Yep.
But go ahead.
So overall, a lot of people wonder, okay, did Ferrosphere really do enough in comparison to I could bring more HLCs, or I could bring more crack shots, or I could, etc. Right? Predators, yada yada.
I gotta love that fallacy though. Like gets top 4 in major event. I'm gonna change your list. But anyway, continue.
Well, so I don't think this is like I don't know if this is the final form. Spoiler.
True.
Like, including Nova, I've played this specific variation 12 or 15 times at most. That's it. So, like, that means out of all 4 scenarios, I may have played each scenario 2 or 3 times. Like, that's it. That's not a lot of, like, known information for me. Especially when a majority of that came from the event I placed well itself. Like, before that event, it was like 5 games max, maybe with this specific version. Other version I tried, we had like 3 games with. So I knew like the flow and generally what I wanted to do, but like finalized version and like upgrades chosen. This is very early stage. But I feel really great about everything. Like I said, BBE, Astromech felt awesome on Jess to maintain Ferrosphere. The Plasma Torp on Elo felt really good. The choice on Lulo felt great. Just having another I5 to contribute to initiative killing and generally always being able to shoot is really nice. And having obviously focus boost or back arc availability. But back to like all those extra damage dealing things versus Ferrosphere. So a lot of people like going HLC or crack because they're like, oh, I can bullseye those Arc 170s, or I can bullseye that Han, or et cetera, right? Do more damage. While you can, I think this list, and I already felt really comfortable with it as is, already deals with the Arc 170s and Padme and Anakin really well. They have enough firepower. You need to put them in position so they're not just like, I'm gonna joust. Like, you don't win that joust. You should not be jousting. You should be using rocks to mess up where they want to go and speed yourself up. Use those boost and rolls to get yourself in a better position so you're attacking from multiple vectors. You're going to lose something, but in the process of losing a ship, you're either going to also get one of theirs and be in better position, and the rest of your list can close it out from there. So where the list would falter, in my eyes, when you prioritize the crack shots and the HLCs, things that don't let you take this mass Ferrosphere approach, is everything else that exists in the meta. In Empire, like whether it's the Plasma Tomax or the Barrage Tomax or the Barrage Bombers or Vader, Merrick Steele's probably going to show up a little more because of Plasma Tomax, that combo together. Like, I'm not bullseyeing those reliably, and I'm not getting those points like investment, and I don't really need it to do that much more damage. I need it to try and survive more or make my opponent make decisions or have a tougher time handling the list, which is what Ferrosphere can do. Against FO stuff, Malrus loves to lock. Vonreg I6, people are leaning towards it, loves to lock. Midnight loves to lock. Plenty of that is around, at least in the FO side of things. All variations of Rebel. The most popular pilot in the game is Luke Skywalker. I'm pretty sure he would like to shoot his protorps every single game. If I have to tell my opponent to make a decision between do you want to lock or use instinctive aim, I like it all the time. Even if they decide to take the lock, I like it. I now know where they can and can't go and still have an action next turn. So the Ferrosphere covers a lot of basis across the board that the HLC and Crackshots don't. I think while HLC and Crackshot can still push through additional damage, it's close to a win more games you were already gonna win's territory. Like if you're getting bullseyes on stuff with your T70s, probably already winning the game, right?
True.
Whereas the Ferrosphere is not like it's not easy to see that it gets you wins, but it will put you in situations to better your win chances because of the decisions your opponent has to make or the difficult target priorities it creates.
I mean, yeah, when the more you can make your opponent make tough decisions, the higher likelihood that you're gonna be able to come out on top because you're creating more decision fatigue, and I'm sure for most players they just didn't consider Ferrosphere paint in their preparation. Right, if they practiced and they were kind of theory crafting, they're like, oh, they probably thought about Han, and more Han, and maybe some Imperial bombers, but not necessarily that tech. So it's pretty cool. Well, do you feel good you feel good, Ryan? You should feel good. That's pretty.
Oh yeah, no, as sort
of
a true debut event for the list. And the nice thing is about it too is I don't feel like a lot of times I'll do really well with a list, then I'll like put it aside and go try something else for a while and maybe come back to it. I might do that a little bit with FO because I haven't touched FO in a long time, and I might like just see what's in the waters there. But Crossroads is in like a month, and I don't know if I want to spend the time doing that with FO, and I might just fine tune and polish this even further. And more about my play. Again, nothing yet sticks out enough as to the upgrade and configuration choices that I would change enough. It would be more about playing it more because, so for people who may have watched it on Twitch, I ended up losing in top 4 to Josh Benjamin, who ran the 4-ship Han list, Han, Fen, Keo, and Luke, to which I probably built one of the best turn zeros I've ever done with this list, particularly in salvage against Han. Now, reminder, I've only played this list before Nova 5 or 6 times, and salvage 1 or 2 times. And I don't know if I ever played salvage against like that list, but I knew that I wanted to bunch up my objectives in a very specific area and bully Han out of that area. So you're not allowed to play here. And when you leave and you want to try and come back, the obstacles will be in your way to attempt to come back. So while I did that, the most common thing this list does in objectives is it bullies and destroys something early and tries to close out the game with objective points along with trying to finish off any other ships that are threatening it too. It's normally uncommon that I have the opportunity to be able to pick up boxes or crates or press scramble buttons, anything that deals with actions, because these ships want their actions. They want actions to provide the offense for the list to burn something down. So it was a rare case where I was actually in a very good situation to have prioritized boxes, knowing that Han had to leave, because if he stayed, he was going to die. And Luke and Fen were far enough on the other edge of the board that I probably could have picked up 4 boxes in turn 2. I picked up 1 with Elo only. I decided not to pick 1 up with Jess in the middle because I felt like Luke was going to tort me anyway. I probably should have picked it up anyway. And I probably should have had Kaz not follow Jess straight up in the middle. Should have had him just stay low and get my own box, and then have Fen try and work around that debris cloud to actually get to me. And then I probably should have had Snap get another one to have 4, and likely end up just with 3 by the end of the first turn. But now I have 3 boxes, right? That clock starts ticking. I got 3, he's got none. And Jess might have even had a chance to 4 straight and get their backline objective if Kyo doesn't pick it up, which she didn't at the time. And now I'm sitting with maybe 4. And Han's leaving. He's not in a very optimal position to turn his arc and shoot multiples of my ships. Luke is stressed because he would have had to, Ferrosphere. If he would have had to have a stress from the Ferrosphere from Jess because Jess was not in his bullseye. And Fenn would have had a much less optimal shot into Kaz. So it's a learning experience. I wish I didn't have to learn it in a top 4 that I felt like a pretty good turn 0 advantage. But the game was still really close. As you saw, when I pushed Han and kept shooting at him, I did a little bit of damage, but I didn't have a lot of my guns on him. I kind of wore down Luke and Fenn on my way over to finishing off Han. So I kind of ended up going into my own rock wall that made it harder for Han to navigate around. So if I would have just taken boxes and just went into the same corner Han just started at, I feel much better chance about my ability to win that game. But again, not an obvious thing, right? I heard people were like, why doesn't he pick up boxes on the stream or whatever, or commenting? And sure, hindsight 2020, I do now agree with that. But knowing the list and how it plays in most occasions, it's going to threaten other people from picking up boxes. It's going to destroy stuff. And then I'm going to pick up boxes later to help start the clock ticking to close out the game, because these ships don't hold boxes relatively well or can do box actions and have enough mods on offense to threaten. So, but every other game I won, so
yeah, exactly. And that was a lot of games. So, good experience, and we have obviously a stretch to go into World season. We have October, November, December, January, February, March. We're basically halfway there, right? 6 more months till the World Championships, and we'll see where the Resistance ends up evolving. And one of the things that people were asking is, what lists or factions did you play against? I got a real quick breakdown here. Here we go. So round by round, Ryan played against a Han list. In round 2, he played against an Empire Salad here. Lots of different things there. It looks like versus Psych J7 of the Planning
that was the unfortunate game where he went to Ailerons his Vizier, and the Aileron would have put him on the rocks, so he couldn't complete the Aileron, and then proceeded to 3-bank in front of Vader and Mauler where he wanted to move them. So it was a lot of friendly bumping and sadness.
Sad. Round 3, another Han list, different setup here. You got double A-wings, then a fellow Resistance player, looks like same X-wings, but then we got Zori and Vanessa in there instead. And then round 5 on that first day, you played against one of your locals playing a First Order list.
Yeah, we were both undefeated going into the final round. We were the last 2 undefeateds, both from Michigan, Cody Wood and myself. Cody Wood, known for his triple silencer Malrus style list. And I wasn't super confident in the matchup until I saw we got Assault. And I did a very similar thing I did in the game against Josh. I got second player on objective placement, and I put the assault zones in a box on his side of the board. People are like, well, it's on his side of the board. What do you do? I'm going to go there, and he has to be there now too. His silencers want to circle the entire board and pick at stuff before he can dive in and finish them off. And if I make a zone of areas that he needs to be there, unless I start racking up a whole lot of points, then he also needs to be there, and I have a much better chance of killing and corralling his ships, which is generally what happened.
And then
Cody says he wants another crack at my list. Probably that'll
rematch. And then to round it out, looks like you played against the classic, well now becoming meta staple triple arcs, Padme Anakin, another Han list with Winan. You played against Winan, but you didn't really play. Game. Yeah, it was your intentional draw, and then falling to a different Han list in that top 4 match.
So for people who may not be paying a ton of attention, so while the triple arc Padme Anakin is popular and has done well, it actually still doesn't have a overall winning record against Hans.
It's true.
Now, granted, it's a lot more difficult list to play than Han variations, so there are people who can take advantage of some inexperienced usage of the Republic arc list and still win with the Han variation. So while Padme annoys Han, she actually is not a hard counter by any means.
Yeah, I think she got labeled as a silver bullet very early, and she's strong against Han, but definitely not a auto win or even really going to give yourself a super big advantage either. It's just Han has to play around it.
Awesome. All right. Well, congratulations to everybody who was at Nova. Had a great time seeing you all. We're going to move on to our last few topics of the day. So, since our last podcast, AMG has released 2 different press releases, and we're going to start with the first one. All right. So, the first one's labeled Store Championship Confusion. Will, you want to take lead on this one?
Sure, they have the article broken down. Go ahead and read it at their website, TomMassGames.com/transmissions. You can see all their updates there. But they break it down here in the specific categories, starting with the 16-player minimum for their Store Championship kits. Basically, reminding everybody that they did want to have a 16-player minimum, and unfortunately, they're going to have to be strict about that. I'm trying to read it and talk at the same time, but the consensus of it was that if you didn't have 16 players at your Store Championship, whether it's Armada or Legion or X-Wing, you needed 16 people to have the chance at the World's invite. They did ship a lot of these Store Championship kits. There have been happening, a lot of them throughout the season, but when they go to report them, they are going to look for those stores that have just the 16 players, and more or less say that the process needs to be completed by February of next year, which would then tie in right until the World's competition. They go on about reporting the winners. They're going to send out that information to the stores, so players shouldn't have to worry too much about that. But if you did organize an event for a store, certainly get in contact with them, see what you could do to expedite that process. Let's see, what else do they talk about? The competitive seasons as well. That's kind of what we understood, that it's going from May up until March 24. I do love reading that Adepticon word in all their press releases, though. Man, nice to have that. It's such a great event. And then let's see, they keep going. There's stuff about the Armada organized play kit, so that has been confirmed. They had to be shipped out. Let's see. They also talk about legacy invites. That unfortunately they cannot honor any more Worlds like invites unless they were earned for this season. Which I think they were honoring them in the previous Worlds. So,
I think that the issue there was just that they had no way. Could you find the information? Yes, but I think AMG themselves don't have that data. And my understanding is, we got to ask Nicholas. Does he, as part of his winning, does he have a guaranteed invite for next year? I don't. That wasn't part of the announced prizes, right?
Yeah,
so
I think the season starts in May. So
Yeah, season started in May, so according to this, he would not have one. He's got to
All right.
earn it like the rest of us.
So it's just a different philosophy in how they're going about each of the games. Each season is its own isolated event. And then the last section they have here is about passing down invites. It's pretty much standard practice. If the winner doesn't have it, or already has an invite, you just kind of keep going down until you get to the person who doesn't. Make sure to report it. I like that they clarified here, and I think it's 100% within their right to be like, hey, we said on the box, it literally says on the box and in the paper it needs to be 16 players. That's fine. I have one complaint. And I understand they have this whole thing about reporting winners. I think the way that they planned on the reporting of winners was poor. And the reason I'm saying that is this Google form link has gone to store owners or the person who does the ordering for the store. Now, I am saying this not from just from those people already receive tons of emails. There's a good chance that they got this email about please report your store championship winner here and have no idea, and the email is now lost and gone. I think as a critique, maybe a let's get it better next time, inside of the box, you include some type of like QR code or something where you scan
code for the TO.
Yes, and you put something in there so that the person running the event can report it, and we don't have to go through all these steps to get it done. Because the reality is that for most of the stores, the people running it is not not store employees. It's people who are fans of the games that are volunteering in their area. So a little bit room for improvement.
Not the person that received the email.
Right, exactly. So room for improvement there, AMG. I like that they're trying to stay organized and get everything set and just being very clear about what they want. I think that's just the one area that I'd like to see some improvement in for that. All right. Now, James, could you take us through this other post that came out today? I unfortunately have not had a chance to read through it, but can you give me the gist? There was a second one, and go for it. This came from Will Schick, a message to our community.
Yeah. So something that I have seen personally, and I think a lot of us have seen recently, and I think we even mentioned it during our last podcast, is some of the responses that we've seen in to some of their AMG social media has been less than tactful, let's say, in the way that some people are presenting their opinions. So this is from Will Schick, just a message to our community, essentially saying like, hey, we understand you're very passionate, that you are very, excited about your game and want to see as much information as you can about it, and maybe disappointed in some of the choices that we've made or with how things are right now. But there's a right way to voice your concern and your constructive criticism, and there is a wrong way. And this is just I think this is a forewarning for those people that are doing it the wrong way, that like, hey, we let you have the run of the mill for a little while, but I think after this post we are gonna be removing you from the community. So to that point, this first sentence of the last paragraph, AMG remains firmly committed to keeping our communities a pillar of friendly and welcoming conversation and discourse around the games that have brought us together, and to remain engaged and active among those communities in order to ensure their continued health and growth.
Yeah.
So I think there's been a lot of upset people specifically about the mini extravaganza. The fact that there's not going to be any X-Wing and or Armada information, and I think all of us are disappointed that there's not going to be anything.
Agreed.
Could there have been, even if it was just a short 15, 20, 30-minute discussion? Yeah, there could have, but there wasn't. And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that this is mainly focused on the hobby aspect of the game. This mini extravaganza is, and I absolutely get that. Guess what? X-Wing is not a hobby game. Armada is not a hobby game. A little bit with the painting of the fighters, but not a hobby game. However, Legion, Shatterpoint, and
Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Protocol are very hobby focused. I would say at least 50% hobby focused the game is. So this is for those games,
right? And I would say, like, again, and we are saying this in good faith, because they do say, like, they are open to constructive criticism. And my constructive criticism here is, I think Mini Extravaganza has a marketing problem in its name, because it is X-Wing miniatures. It is still Armada miniatures, and it's coming from a studio. So I like the word. The word is nice, but from a PR perspective, when you have two of your properties that you are ignoring, I don't think it should be a surprise that people are like, what about us? Even though, like, yes, we know that literally the whole 3 days is for them basically to spend 3 days. Listen, in every, like, business, you try to find reasons to do stuff that you think is really fun and get paid for it, right? So, like, me as a teacher, like, teaching conventions are fun. Yeah, we spend 8 hours a day talking about teaching and stuff like that, but in the evening, you get to go out with your friends and shoot the breeze and make connections and stuff like that. They have created a situation where, hey, we run a game company, we love painting, let's spend 3 days painting and talking to people about painting. That's essentially what Mini Extravaganza is, and it's less marketing about new stuff and more just kind of like, hey, look, we do the same stuff. The problem is you do have two properties under your label that I think should have something. And even if it's small, and maybe that's the problem, is like they don't know how to connect. And I think, like, X-Wing players, I'm gonna use myself as an example. If I had to paint and assemble anything for X-Wing, I would be super gone. Not interested at all in playing. And that is that I know several people who could paint and make it beautiful and ready for me to play. I'm not interested, because I want to be able to buy it off the shelf. Here we go. There's my YT2400, and go play with it. That's my style. All right. So I like Mini Extravaganza, and I think what ended up happening is in the last couple, they've tried to do some things with X-Wing and Armada. Like, they had those little extra, like, we're having an event type of thing. And they didn't hit super well, but we tried to support. I mean, Gold Squadron, we supported them in that, even though they hit it, it was kind of a late thing. But I think in the future, for Mini Extravaganza, they do something, even if it's small. Now you'll still get people complaining, like, oh, they spent all day painting all this stuff and they only talked 15 minutes about X-Wing. I think it would be fine.
I had completely forgotten about the X-Wing.
Yeah, they had those
things they had done. They had like special rules and they had like 3 weeks of it, or 3 days of it, maybe.
Yeah, it was 3 days. I think the problem with those is that, like, in the wording, it made it sound like they expected you to, like, run out to the game store and go play it now. But the reality is, like, that's not. A lot of us would have to plan space and time to do something like that, especially on a weekend. So I like the idea. Give us, like, a month notice that's happening on that day, and we can probably plan it, right? Like, we could make it a thing, but letting us know, like, yeah, there's gonna be special rules thing. Here we go. Like, cool, neat. you'll get less participation that way. So I think just overall in their internal talks, make sure if they're having what they're considering a studio event, to include everybody. And because if it's a paint with us, call it AMG Paints or something like that. Like, call it what it is, rather than, it sounds like a whole, studio involved thing, if that makes sense. And like I love what they're doing, and I'm sure they're gonna have a great time, and all the minis are gonna look cool. It's just not for me as their 1/5 of their audience.
Yeah, I mean, it should be still a good time. I know there's at least a panel where Plumber, Pagani, and Will talk about like developing Shatterpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, that's the development team for X-Wing. So if they're talking about what things they like and how they want to develop, progress a game, like how they can change a game or evolve it. A lot of those principles I imagine would go over to X-Wing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? I will say, and this is the positive side of this, I like that they're trying stuff, right? Like, they're trying stuff. They're going to learn along the way. The goal or the hope is that every time they do something public like this, that it gets a little bit better. They understand the community a little bit more. And also, hopefully, less people react in a way that's like, we're having a professional conversation, and this is like, if you work with somebody, sometimes somebody does something that doesn't quite jive with you, and you have to have hard discussions, but you don't have to be like, you're a butthead, but the worst versions of that.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly touch one point where, this mini extravaganza has been a thing with AMG since before they took over the Star Wars IP.
Well, see, I didn't know that. See, that isn't it, man. Okay, see, can I say something as simple as saying the 7th annual, something like that? Because then X-Wing players can like put 2 and 2 together and be like, oh, they just been painting stuff for however many years. Like, see, now that feels
looking at the
better.
Previous year schedules, it's opening ceremony, dev on MCP, paint, dev on MCP, paint, hobby, paint, gameplay of MCP, paint. Yeah, so it is like 99% paint of MCP. So
cool.
It's first and foremost a hobby aspect of the game event.
And listen, AMG, by the way, that one time you did like a gameplay of X-Wing, call us up, send me an email. I will get 2 of us.
I will be there.
I will get 2 of us, and we will make sure that we have a good time. We'll make you guys look good, and we'll even play by the rules of the game. All right. All right. Anyway, that's what's happening there. AMG. They're doing work. They released new toys recently, and hopefully we have new toys to come very soon. Our last point of discussion today is, should we put it as part of the actual podcast, or should we do it after dark? What do you guys think? We're going to talk about Ahsoka, guys.
It's the midpoint of the season, so we are officially halfway.
Halfway. Like, if you didn't want to watch it at this point, like, if you wanted to, you started something, right?
Yeah.
Right. I know there's some people who are like, I'm waiting to binge it. I'm like, okay. Cool. Yeah. So this is your official warning.
I don't got time to binge it.
No, I don't either. I watch it now. I'm watching it now. So this is your spoiler warning. Woo, woo, woo. If you don't want to hear spoilers for Ahsoka, get out. Run away. Now. You have 5.
Don't watch it.
Up to episode 4.
Up to episode 4.
Yes, up to episode 4. Correct. 1 through 4.
Oh. You listen to this later in the week,
we're gonna have to be talking a lot about 4.
Ahsoka all the way up to 4.
1 through 4.
Wee woo.
All right. Done. It starts now.
Holy moly.
Wow.
But,
Okay, so yeah, I've really enjoyed the. It was a little bit of a slow drip. It's like right because if you've watched Star Wars Rebels, you're kind of like, come on, get us the juice. I know you need to introduce the characters again, but give us the good stuff. And we got to 4, and it's like, oh yeah, Star Wars, let's go.
Yeah, now all these non-Star Wars nerds, not the deep nerds, now they're all caught up, and now we can start getting forward motion kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the
there was
callbacks
still
were very
progress
nice.
in the early episodes. They were setting the scene for everything essentially. Slight introduction to some of the characters that people may not be familiar with that haven't watched Rebels. Which, by the way, go watch Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
You should. It's good.
Yeah, spoiler warning for Rebels. It's good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spoilers in Ahsoka if you've been watching that, not Rebels, by the way.
Yep.
Where's this Kanan guy at? I thought he was in the
Yeah.
first
They haven't even mentioned him. They don't even mention him at all.
You're talking.
They don't. My goodness. And Marcel bust down the door.
We bust down the door.
So
The funny thing
for the spoilers.
The funny thing is, like, he literally can't do anything. Like, nobody can hear him. We can. He could scream into the darkness as much as he wants until
don't antagonize him to do it.
until I let him in. All right, give me.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
cool.
Okay, so you are up to date.
All right, Marcel should appear now. There he is.
Up to episode 4, looking at episode 1 through 3, any gripes, complaints, or something that you really enjoyed?
Say, why are you starting with all this negativity talk?
No, like something
Yeah,
that.
there's no-
Is there anything that you really like you saw that was like, wow, that was so good?
So, I have been a big fan of the casting. Like, seeing just the pictures side by side has been really cool, but actually seeing these characters being brought to live action has just been really amazing. Like, when I see Sabine and Hera and Ahsoka and Hu Yang, like, there's no doubt. Like, there's no what's the no suspension of disbelief. Is that like I'm into it. I'm seeing all the characters and I'm convinced that they are who they are in the story, which is really cool. And I think that can be hard to do, especially when characters are originally animated.
Yeah, Hu Yang's been a real joy.
A treat.
Yeah, he's really
Like,
trying to make his name
he's
for himself as a cool
C-3PO
droid.
levels of joy right now. It depending on how this all rolls out, might be better than C-3PO for at least pure enjoyment.
Okay, are we
level
talking
of the story.
might? 100% is better than
I mean,
C-3PO.
C-3PO is programmed to be annoying. I don't know who did it, but
That Anakin kid programmed to be
I
annoying.
think all the new characters that don't have all the Rebels seasons of development or massive Clone Wars development have all been done really well. Hu Yang is one. He's in 2 episodes total of any screen time in animated. He's great in this, as we just talked about. Chat's been blowing up on this one.
25,000 years old.
Sure, yeah. Balin and Shin have been great. I wasn't sure how they were going to pull off the feel of dark Jedi. People weren't sure if they were. They said they weren't going to be Sith. We don't know. We didn't know. Fallen Jedi are now we're learning more Jedi mercenary level. Just aren't really following the order too tightly type of thing.
We got the Force. We're not good. We're also not trying to take over the world.
But we want more power now. We have some ambition.
Yeah.
Which is more dark-ish.
Yeah, but what is the ambition?
We don't know yet, right? We'll see.
Yeah. I think for me the biggest disappointment of Ahsoka so far is that we're not going to see more of Balon. Due to
unfortunately the actor
did pass away right
before it came out.
Yeah, right after
What?
filming.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
You know, Grace
Sorry.
Stevenson passed away.
I
That was
did
a month or
not.
two ago.
Yeah.
I'm so bummed. He was so
Like,
good.
He is,
he
I
he
know.
has been one of
That's
the
great.
highlight actors of this whole series so far. Ray Stevenson as Balon has been
he's-
awesome.
he's
Like
stealing-
this
he's stealing the
disappointed
series.
granddad vibes are on point.
Yeah.
He's also like the most stoic, old knightly feeling characters. Like even his movements, they're very stiff, they're very stalwart type, but these very like surgical, like a trained over the years like knight level stuff.
We did not have a character like Balon in the Star Wars universe that I can really think of. Like, he is a unique and fleshed out character.
And it's not like he's going around being like, yeah, we're gonna kill Ahsoka. She's gonna get it, and like
He's
she's
like,
a
"Man,
light
I
Jedi.
really
I'm
do
a
not wanna
dark
do
person.
this."
Like, no, like there's not a lot of Force users left here. Like, it's a shame that you're gonna have to die. Like, that's a passive aggressive way of saying I'm gonna kill you, but he's
Right.
saying it in a way that's like a little bit remorseful about.
Like, I don't really want to, but this is the
So
path.
he's like,
little remorse.
why did you come here? I really wish you would not have come here. Not because you're gonna mess up my plans. I'm gonna kill you, but
Yeah,
I
exactly.
really wish you wouldn't come here because I don't want to
You
have
still
to.
think what he's gonna get done is gonna get done, and nothing's gonna stop him. But there's a level of like, well, this is unfortunate. Anyways,
So I do have a question about that. Try to remind me. So when he was talking, episode 4, when they're talking, Balin and Ahsoka, and he references her training with Anakin. Does it sound like he knew that why she left the Order, or like all of that? Because he seems very knowledgeable about
It kind of seems
so
like he was around.
Yeah.
Like he
Oh,
was.
so
the entire thing.
I mean, Anakin was one of the most, according to what we've seen and heard from Balin and
prolific.
just Star Wars in general. Anakin was an extremely known Jedi during the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
He was one of the big Jedi generals, right? And you would assume that anyone would generally know of his apprentice. And then the whole thing in the episodes of Clone Wars, the whole arc of like someone's framing Ahsoka and she left the Order. I don't think that's anything like secretive. Like, I'm pretty sure most of the Jedi Order would like realize that like one of the superstars of our Order, Anakin Skywalker, their pupil has left the Order because they were framed for like this giant thing that was going to happen to the Republic. So I'm not surprised Balin knew about that. Balin knowing about what Anakin eventually came to be is another story, though. Like, did he just
because he does reference that as well, right?
He's like, yeah, I think he says something like, I'm not sure too many people know what he came to be.
Yeah, he's like so many Jedi knew of Anakin Skywalker, but few knew what he would come to be.
Yeah. You are right, James. So like, not very many people in Star Wars are just like as knowledgeable, or like characters.
Yeah.
There's obviously like people.
Yeah,
but, like,
this guy seems like he is like if I wouldn't know better, this guy is the main character. Like he knows everything. He knows what's going on. Like, cause like the whole story of like the wills, the whole like headcanon for some people is like the wills
Yeah.
are writing the story, and like R2D2 and C3PO are the ones like carrying the story.
Right.
Like it seems like this guy's carrying the story pretty good. He seems to know what's up. Like he didn't skip a beat, and he's still, and no one knows who he is.
So like here's a question, kind of pulling back to reality here. So did they finish the season with him? They were able to finish the season? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They finished
we don't
him.
know his ultimate.
Right.
like,
So if his character is supposed to survive on, is this we replace him as an actor, and if so, who could replace him? Or is this I guess we have to rewrite the script now.
yeah, this is.
No.
So
What would you?
Either go animated or rewrite the script.
I guess animated would be.
I mean,
I wouldn't be
unless it's
too
Gerard
surprised.
Butler, just have him exit off screen. You know.
I wouldn't be too surprised. Someone is a short theory that I saw someone mention online. It's just like Shin seems a little more dark-sided than Balon, and a little more aggressive.
She does, yeah, for sure.
If we see her in coming episodes seem more like a caged animal, and she finally breaks free and just gets to like full power, be as like angry and evil or whatever as she wants to be, if that is through killing Balin, I don't know.
I mean,
That's true.
that sounds like super on brand for Shin so far. Like, just
Yeah.
like so uncaged animal exactly. Like it sounds like there's gonna be like a showdown, and Shin is gonna be fighting Sabine or something, and then
Yeah,
Balin's
they've already
like,
had
hey,
round
yes.
2.
Yeah, like hey, stop
Sure.
it! Like we need to leave or something. He's gonna get in the way, and she's gonna kill him. Like she's gonna strike him down.
I mean, we were talking that as well. That I mean, what if Balin eventually is like, you know what? Actually, like what if his mind is changed by the end of it? Because like he was like open to talking with Ahsoka. I mean, he was firm about his position, but he was offering to talk, and he was offering like about Sabine as well. Like he could have just ended it right then and there. So like I don't know. He's got to have some larger game he's playing.
Balin definitely, at least on a morale standpoint, he has a code. You can see that he has a code and some sort of ethics and morals he lives by. He's still driven to do end result things that are generally reserved for the antagonist area, but he's got a code. Like he set, like when he offered Sabine, like, if you surrender, give me the map, we can go find Ezra, you will be unharmed. And Shin goes to like choke her out, and he's like, I promised her that she would live and come with us. So he just yelled at Shin to stop.
Real like, yeah, Knights of the Round Table vibes of like, like maybe this guy not the best, not best guy, but maybe not bad guy.
like just look at his pauldrons. This is straight knight pauldrons, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think they if assuming that's what they were going for, they nailed the sort of old Knight of Round Table type Jedi with this character. Except he is on the antagonist side of things. He's not the honorary. He is honorary slightly. His motives are devious.
He's the Black Knight.
That's what I
Black
don't agree with. And I mean, he genuinely believes he's doing what's in the greater good. So I don't think his morality or ethics are in question. He believes what he is doing is for the greater good.
Do we know that? Has he mentioned greater good? I've only heard of him going through power and ambition.
No, but he's said it on multiple occasions. In order to create the greater good,
you have to destroy
certain things. Yeah, you have to destroy. So he's probably along.
I'm pretty sure there's ways to. Yeah, I hear you, but like,
no, but
maybe not starting maybe not starting a whole new war is the best.
But you don't know what his end goal is, and you don't know what he believes that will result in. And if he believes, like in the, I don't know enough about it, but I read about it when I didn't know about Thrawn, about how Thrawn and Palpatine and they were seeing the threat of whatever they're called from outside the Outer Rim, and that they were trying to prepare the galaxy in order to thwart off their extinction. It could be viewed as like they were doing what they thought was necessary to ensure the survival of the species in the galaxy. Now they went about it a completely evil way, but that's the way that they thought they had to do it in order.
Real hero here.
In his mind, he might have been. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like in the mind of a sociopath, or in the mind of someone who is an extremist, or in the mind of someone who is drank enough Kool-Aid, they may be, they believe they're doing the right thing for the right reasons, and some people need to get sacrificed to achieve it. So
All right. Well, I want to transition into talking about Balin because he pushed Ahsoka off the edge of a mountain, and she appears in the world between worlds. And it was like midnight in my house, and I just go, what?
Yeah.
So what is the world in between worlds? Because when I saw it, the only thing that came to mind, because I haven't seen the cartoons, the only thing that came to mind was when Goku dies and he's running down Snake Way, and he's trying to find Master whatever.
I don't know what you're talking about, but
So it's
a
not
Dragon Ball Z
quite
thing.
it's not quite heaven or an afterlife. It is essentially like a dimension out of time that you can access through the Force. There's been the trilogy. I forget what the father, daughter, son. Is that what the three were called?
Mortis arc. I don't
Yes.
think the Mortis arc even touched on the world between worlds. I didn't think
No.
so.
I thought,
They didn't talk about it.
Anyways, well
No,
then,
but they are the gateway that is on
That's
the
true,
Thal. They are on
yeah.
the gateway.
yeah, I thought they were involved in this Lothal. Basically, in the Lothal, it was like some like Force origin place that the spirits of the Loth Wolves can tap into. But essentially, it's a place of like essentially like pure Force. It's like
Yeah.
a world made of pure Force. But what that allows you to do is because the Force connects to everything, now you have to think that the Force connects to everything all the time, meaning all the time, all at once. So that's how you can affect things in the past, potentially in the future, through these portals, through the world between worlds. Ezra, again, huge season 4 Rebels spoilers.
spoilers.
But, huge ones. But the Ezra finds himself in the world between worlds as he's traveling through Lothal, and actually sees a previous battle of Ahsoka versus Darth Vader that she saved him from. He left that. She stayed to battle him, but he saves her from that battle, and that's what Dion's showing the picture. That's where Ahsoka actually talks to Ezra about the world between worlds.
It's right. It's
She's
right
not
here. He like
not
literally pulls her out.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Like Ahsoka saves them and like pushes them away and takes on Vader alone. And up
At
to
the
that
end of
point,
season 2 of Rebels.
yeah, up
Right.
to that point of after season 2 Rebels, like
She
we
was
all
dead.
thought that we all thought she was dead. Like that was her
Yeah.
final sacrifice, was to save Ezra and Kanan.
Yeah, Dave Filoni wore a Ahsoka lives ? For years.
For years. Yeah.
Until this episode came out, and then was like debuted a shirt that said Ahsoka lives ! And so it's that. But so it's not exactly time travel, but you can affect things throughout time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Palpatine was
there's
trying to get a hold of this, and through Ezra tried to tempt him into saving Ezra's parents, who had died to the Empire many years back when Ezra was extremely young. And Palpatine was trying to use Ezra as a way to get in there so that Palpatine can use the world between worlds to affect the past, the present, and the future to where it benefits Palpatine as much as possible, which would have been probably the worst timeline possible in Star Wars.
Yeah. There's like a popular, I don't want to get too far off track here, but there's like a popular theory that Ezra saving Ahsoka is what split from Legends and then our current Disney canon. So not saving Ahsoka, saving Kanan, and then losing losing to Palpatine, and then saving Ahsoka and as being like our current
different branch.
Yeah,
That makes sense because Thrawn was in there in that timeline before that split them.
yeah.
I don't want to do multiverse.
No, I don't either.
And honestly, so Marcel, I don't think
pretty
that's
good
where this
crazy.
is going. This isn't meant to be a
No.
multiversal thing. This is more
there's-
like
there's not real time travel. Everything that has happened will happen. There's no time paradoxes.
yeah. It's basically just this is an area where you can go, where there's the ability to go to these portals that allows you to see into something that may have happened before or has happened. I think it's only we've actually only seen stuff that's happened before. We haven't seen
The future, yeah.
future or
We've heard the future.
I didn't remember if we heard the
voices.
future when he walks
Yeah, we
by
heard
some of the
voices and
portals.
like people talk, like having conversations that were in like the later movie, like the
Yeah.
the original trilogy movies.
Yeah, it would be the
Okay,
original
so it is
trilogy from
both.
that point in time.
So
Kind of.
but like
yeah.
I think this is how they are going to get to where Ezra is they're going to go
Yeah.
through the world between worlds to get to that other galaxy.
Right.
So
So
yeah,
it's
it's a
I
little
would
bit
probably
of,
say the
it's a little bit of space travel, sometimes a little bit of time travel, but kind of not really. It's
and
it's the Force. You had mentioned that earlier. It's just
Yeah, Force
it
works
can
in
do
weird
what,
ways.
what do you need?
right. I think that the like what Ezra did was like you can't do that. You shouldn't be doing. You can't be like messing with the portals. It's for like viewing only.
I mean, Ahsoka was like visibly mad that he saved her. Like,
Yeah,
he's
and
like,
he
why
was
did
like,
you
"What?"
do that?
Yeah.
He's like,
So-
I saved you. It's like, yeah, you messed with time, dude.
Now,
So-
the big question is, even with knowing what it is, why does Ahsoka get pulled into it after falling off a cliff, and why is Anakin there?
Yeah. Did
Oh
she,
yeah, we didn't
all-
talk about Anakin.
did
Yeah,
she
there's also
die?
Anakin.
Is this all in her? Well, this thing, like as far as we know, going to the world between worlds is not from death.
Right.
No,
So
no, it's not.
why
an
is
afterlife
she
or anything
there?
Like that.
And why is Anakin there? Is this in her head? Because is this actually the world between worlds? Is
Well,
like what is she in the world between worlds, but she's envisioning Anakin there? Like what? How much of this is in her head, or how much of this is all there? And if it's all there, why is Anakin there?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, why does he not have a
They-
blue glow like a Force Ghost should?
that's also super weird. Well, I mean, they're on like a very like force powerful planet, from what I'm understanding, a nexus of force powers. That's why they had the Stonehenge on that particular cliff. So, assuming that somehow she tapped into it because of the strength of the sight or something like that, but also her hand got burnt when she tried to grab
You
the
think they're gonna do some
MacGuffin.
Indiana Jones?
That's what I was
I don't
thinking.
know.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, it like visibly like messed her up. Like it wasn't just like ouch that hurt. It was like
Yeah.
she like didn't use her arm the rest of the fight. Like it really did
Yeah,
something
and
to
that's
her.
It messed her
probably
up.
why she lost the fight against Balin. Like, is her arm? My guess is Morgan Elsbeth put some Night Sister hex curse
curse.
thing
Yeah.
on it that
Also-
burned
yeah.
her.
Yeah. Also,
Which that's
we
the
didn't
other
even
thing,
talk
too.
about Elsbeth being Night Sister, which I was like visibly like I was like, what? Like of course, like look
I
at
mean,
that.
it
Of
makes
course
sense.
she is.
I mean, she looks like it
course.
now. What I don't know is when she first made her debut in the Mandalorian episodes,
Yeah.
if she was written still in mind as being a Night Sister in the future, or if they just kind of like, oh, she's a Night Sister now. That's okay, it's cool, but she doesn't have any sense of herself being a Night Sister in the Mandalorian episode.
I mean, she went toe to toe with Ahsoka Tano with a spear, so
Sure.
we
She
always
had to
kind of
have
assumed
she
that
has
something
some
was
ability.
going on.
Yeah.
It was something
wait,
more
she-
than
she-
Thrawn trained
She
her.
was in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
the one who fought Ahsoka with
Ahsoka
the
episode.
spear.
Oh,
That's
and
where-
then
that's
she
where the
gave the
best
spear
part
to the
spear.
Mando.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But so she wasn't force sensitive.
She's
I mean, it sounds
apparently
like she had to have
got
been.
some powers because she's a Night Sister, so she's like the witches of Star Wars.
Yeah, she does. She definitely has
I-
that green Force power.
Interesting. Because
Also-
she didn't seem to use any of it during the Mando one.
Well, the
Yeah,
Night
exactly.
Sisters,
That's what
the
I'm
Night
saying,
Sisters
yeah.
work differently though. Like they're more like almost like ritualistic magic users. Is really
Yeah.
much more of what they are. Now, real quick, I wanted to say about Anakin not glowing blue. If you remember, Yoda in the Rise of Skywalker had like blue, and then there were times where
Last
he
Jedi.
wasn't. No, sorry, Last Jedi.
Last Jedi, he sits down and has like the faintest of blue, but
Right, it's like
almost like looks like a puppet and not like a projection.
right, and like I'm looking. I have the screen up here. I can't show it because it won't let me show the picture. But like the area they are in is, while he doesn't have like blue extending out from him, the air like the color grading is blue. Because that's like what the area kind of looks like. It's very lots of blue tones in there, so it could be believable as a Force ghost potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Anakin from the past, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of ghosts and Morgan Elsbeth, all right. So first, I want to hear, who did everyone think Merrick was? There's a lot of theories everywhere. As
I got the best one. I got the best one. It was Maul's animated legs.
What?
They had his legs. They found his legs, and they,
Yeah.
made him a like ghost torso or whatever.
Okay. That's more believable than a lot of the stuff that I've heard.
I will say the most outlandish one. So Ezra was one of my early ones a while ago, but as it like was presented to me, there's no way they could have said Ezra was Merrick because of how far away he was supposed to be with Thrawn. Completely other galaxy. Like why? If Ezra was here, why couldn't Thrawn be here? Type of thing, right? Wouldn't make any sense. The craziest one I heard was it's a reanimated Kanan spirit, because there's this whole like the lightsaber like hilt edges look close to Kanan's or something like that, or the emitter side, and that it had the same frame as Kanan, and there was some like mythological thing they combined with like couldn't see type of thing. But I was like, that's pretty outlandish, but it might be the only way that Dave Filoni can get all the cast members back together of Rebels in live action.
So imagine, what is it, like from the It's Always Sunny, where he's like, if you just listen, we had all of them in there. Kanan was there.
Yeah. But, James, did you have any theories?
So I was a fan of the just because I liked the games. The what is it? And if
You think Star Killer?
Yeah, Star Killer. Yeah, I was hoping it was it's like Jason Merrick or something like that, or whatever it is. That's from the Star Killer games.
The
Force Unleashed games. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I was hoping it was him, like one of
Sam
Vader's...
Whitworth. Yeah, like the mask, the mask would fall off and it'd be Sam Whitworth underneath, and we'd be like,
yeah.
Oh. And like they don't even have to say the name or anything. We're just like, we don't.
Nope.
We don't know who that is.
I got you.
I think Sam Witwer may still have played the Merrick character as an actor, but I was not expecting him to be like, it's actually Star Killer and like we're actually making him canon and all that other stuff. It's I was
right.
I think Sam Witwer may have played him.
Yeah, his like his accomplishments in the video game far outweigh what Disney's TV stars do. I mean,
and that's why that's not canon anymore. That crazy stuff.
What we come to find out is in Ahsoka's battle with Merrick in the forests of Cetos, the planet. She cut him up, and I don't think anyone expected this. But just cut him up at the stomach, and he sits there, and he's there for a sec. That's sort of like after Blade dash battle or whatever.
Yeah.
He's cut. You see that, and he just like does this minor implosion thing, and then just out spews a bunch of like dark green mist, and he just like kind of shrinks down and is now nothing. He was some incarnation of Night Sister magic.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. I think he comes from her.
I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think. I hope.
From Morgan.
So one of the things, I don't know if it's a theory. Well, it's a theory but I don't know. I mean, it's from the channel's Star Wars theory, so I guess it's a theory.
I don't like that guy, but continue.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a big crybaby. But anyway, continue.
yeah, personalities and everything aside. Anyway, the other galaxy, and it kind of goes into what I was talking about last week, is like the other galaxy just opens up an entire new realm of possibilities and the way that we know the Force and the way that we understand the Force, because it's contained within the galaxy and it's contained within the factions of, the Sith, the Jedi, the Night Sisters, and everything that is like the physics and the understanding of it. But in other galaxies, there is no Sith, there is no Jedi. They have their own versions and they have their own interpretations of the Force, and they have everything else. And it's quite possible that one of the reasons that Ahsoka and a lot of the famous characters that survived, or it's a way that to explain a lot of the famous characters that survived episode 6, never made it to episode 7, is because they were off in another galaxy, like being part of whatever is being set up here. And then another thing is that the Merrick could be just it could be just a Force user from that other galaxy. And that's, again, it's just having another galaxy and another realm of possibilities just opens up the, everything is possible. So that character might just be an entity that is gaseous and needs some type of physical unit.
A vessel.
Yeah,
Yep.
It needs a vessel or needs a container in order to be to manifest itself as like physical form. Needs something to contain it, and that might be just a species. So you chop him up, and he'll go back, and he'll need to,
Yeah, I won't be
find
surprised.
another vessel to.
I won't be surprised if we see him again, for sure. Wouldn't be surprised. All right,
I
boys.
think you will see him because you saw him escape out. I mean, it
Yeah,
didn't
that's what
dissipate,
I'm
it
saying. I'm
escaped.
saying I would not be surprised if we see him again. All right, fam. Well, we are running a little bit long. I know there's plenty of other stuff to hit, but luckily we'll be back on Monday, which is before the next Tuesday, and we can hash out some more of this. Because I definitely want to talk a little bit about maybe what we, what we could end up seeing from Thrawn. We're almost halfway through the season. We haven't actually seen Thrawn. A lot of talk about Thrawn. Giant hyperspace ring.
E-wings.
Yeah, E-wings, all the things. So we'll stop there for today, but I'm super excited. And yes, somebody had mentioned in the chat, apparently whatever's happening in the mid-season in this upcoming episode is big enough that Star Wars is doing like a fan event in theaters to watch it in theaters, which is awesome. And I was like, oh my God, they're doing it in Chicago? Yeah. And are there any tickets still? And the answer is no. But it's still pretty cool.
Written and directed by Dave Filoni. So
Yeah, this is the one that's written by Filoni. So
this one, it's getting enough hype to put this in theaters, and we just had Anakin show up with Ahsoka in the World Between Worlds. So this might be we might have thought this episode was big.
yeah,
We're about to have one in
Hayden
theaters.
Christensen's first appearance in theaters in years, I think.
Yeah. It's going to be huge. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Keep watching Star Wars. Keep playing X-Wing. Make sure you have 16 players at your store championships. Be nice to people, and we'll talk to you next week. Be smart and be safe. Gold Squadron. There's at least one of you out there that said, "You're not my dad." Out.